IELTS Academic or IELTS General.
This channel is what studying abroad dreams are made of. Do subscribe and hit the bell icon.
Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Ilyas and I'm here today at iSchoolConnect to talk about arguably one of the most asked questions when it comes to taking the IELTS test. Any guesses? Well, maybe a few of you have guessed it right and a few of you haven't, but that question is IELTS Academic or IELTS General. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? So, which test do we take? Let's start with the difference in the purpose of taking each of these tests. So, IELTS Academic, as the name suggests, is for academic purposes. So, if you are looking forward to studying in a native English-speaking country, you will more or less take the IELTS Academic test. And again, IELTS General, as the name suggests, it is for general purposes. So if you are planning to move to or work in a native English-speaking country or apply for a PR or a permanent residency in an English-speaking country, you will more or less take the IELTS General test. So that's the difference in the purpose of taking each test. Now, let's look at what the differences are within the test. So, let's understand the test a little bit to understand the differences first. The IELTS test is about your English proficiency and you are tested on 4 skills. What are those 4 skills? They are listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So these are the 4 skills you're tested on, and we will talk about the differences between the IELTS General and the academic test in each skill. So if we talk about the speaking test or the listening test, these two are exactly the same. There are no differences whatsoever. So if you're taking the IELTS Academic Listening and Academic Speaking, or you're taking the IELTS General Listening or General Speaking, they are exactly the same. There's no difference. Now, let's talk about the third skill, writing. So in writing, there are 2 tasks that you are asked to complete. Task 1 and Task 2, of course. So Task 2 is where you are asked to write an essay. That's exactly the same again for IELTS Academic and IELTS General. No difference. The difference lies in Task 1, where in an academic test, you are given a diagram. It could be a bar graph, a pie chart, a couple of bar graphs, and you need to elaborate. So that's of an academic nature, where you need to kind of write a report. Whereas in IELTS Writing General test, you were asked to write a letter. So that's the difference between the two. That's the only difference in the writing test. As I said earlier, Task 2 remains the same. Now, let's talk about the last skill, reading. Now, the type of questions that you will face in the reading tests are yes, no, true, false, summary completion, and so on. So the type of questions are the same. There is no difference. The difference lies in the passage, the reading passage itself. So in an academic test, it could be a scientific research or something of an academic nature. Whereas in the general test, it could be a general passage. Like I came across one that talks about how honeybees work, or it could be something about how zebras are in the wild, and there could be a small study on that. The passages in the general tests are generally shorter than the ones in the academic test. So these are the major differences that you need to know. There are no other differences that you really need to worry about. That's all.